checking the edges real quick just to see if there's a little bit we want to hit here. Again, it's going to be hard to get in this groove at the ends once we get it all put together. So, alright, let's round the edge off here. Nice. All right. Just gonna double check. Hit this off real quick. This front edge. There we go. Got a little groove there from edge of the sandpaper earlier. There we go. Looks good. All right. So now we're gonna move back over here, and we have to mark our mortises on the long boards. Yeah. Fix this cord real quick. There we go. Let's see. Move these out of the way. We'll go ahead and number these now, so we know which ones are going where, what's top and bottom. These mortises aren't perfect, so we're going to try to match them up pretty close here. And we know from yesterday where our marks are. For this one board, we know where we want to put these. Let's actually move this out there. So set them in here, see if you like the look. There we go. All right. So we've got, actually going to swap this one, just because I like it better from this angle, because you got a lot of knots here and some knots here, so trying to put the knots together just, I don't know, it gives it a, if your knots were up here and there's no knots up in the wood, it just, to me, doesn't look quite right. So we're gonna kind of match the knots up together. And now let's get our center set. So we're gonna actually need to measure on this guy. Do this 2 3/4. Let's actually do it on the 10 in here. So 3/4. That's our center mark. Line that up with this center mark, which we probably will want to continue up. You can see it there. And all of this will be sanded off, so all these pencil marks I'm putting on. So now we need to mark where our edges of our tenons are. Make sure that we know which line, because we put 3 or 4 lines on there yesterday. But we'll continue on here, and I believe is our center mark there. We'll remeasure this once we get them all on. And then we need a center mark on this. Right here. Okay. The bottom's not lined up, but we're not worried about that right now. There. Mark all of our centers here. And we're just going to double check. So this guy here, we actually had to cut a small mortise out of the ends of these so that this will sit inside on both ends. And we also want to make sure our measurement is accurate. So we're going to go from board to board. So we got 7 1/8, 7 1/8, need more 7 1/4, 7 1/4. So we're off a little bit somewhere, but we're going to check our ends to see. So this would be the edge of the board. That's 7 1/4. And this one is a little over 7 1/4. So that's where our line's off. Slight bit. So we're going to slide this. Remark. This guy we're going to move a little bit as well. There we go. That should be better. We should be measuring from the tops. So 7 3/16, 7 3/16, 7 1/4, center that one, 7 3/16, and 7 3/16. So we're good with all those now. And it's almost 7 1/4. So, and this is, I mean, you're never going to notice visually, you just want to make them as close as possible. Now, once we cut our mortises are going to be variants too, so there's going to be some of that play in it. I'm going to grab the iPad here, check, see if there's any chat. No chat? Okay. I think anybody's even watching. It's too early in the morning. Alright, so now we need to mark our mortise cuts. And we'll mark them in one board, and then we'll basically just slide the boards together and mark them across and down. We're not worried about this being lined up with this right now. So, we will get this out of the way. So let's mark. Slide. That one's already been marked. There we go. And now, we just got to make sure we have the right mark, so we're going to do them one at a time here. And we actually wanted to number these, didn't we? So the center is going to be 3, top. So we got 3 marked. This is 4, top. And there was center, so there's my 2 lines. Okay. is 5 top. Probably hear Bruno in there barking. He doesn't like being in the crate during the day. Sometimes he will sleep, and sometimes he will bark. Beth's home today, so he's probably barking because he hears her in there talking to her kids. She's not paying attention to him. Alright, and 1. Go. And that's where our mortise is going to be cut, and all we got to do is get a 1/2 inch centered, and it's going to be as close as it can be. So get them all. Move these over. Actually, we're going to leave them over here somewhere. Otherwise, we're going to be in the way. Line these guys up. And basically, hopefully we get the right marks. We'll double check them here, but should be good. Turn these on in just to make sure all of our marks are lined up correctly here. And they look good. There we go. We didn't miss any of the marks, and we want to make sure we know where our mortises are going to be cut, because these are pretty even spaced. Actually, it looks like they're about exact. Which is kind of interesting. 6.5, 6 1/4. So yeah, they're pretty close. So we want to make sure we know where our mortises are going to be cut, and we got our center lines marked. But I'm going to put a big X in the spots where we want our mortises, just so we don't accidentally cut the wrong spot. Now, there's 2 ways I can cut these mortises, and I'm trying to decide which way. So I have a 1/2 inch bit that I can stick in this router. I don't know if I can get the depth we need. I probably could. But what we can do is we can use the router. We've got our marks on the outside. We can put the board and basically plunge cut, slice across, pull out. And because we have extra space on the outside of our tenons, we're not worried about the little round edges. So we don't need a square, crisp cut. Or I can use the mortising bits to do the holes and then chisel it all out. If I was doing it the old school way, I'd use a chisel all the way, but, you got the modern day, you got power tools you can use, and if you're not going to see the end result of the power tool, I am of the side of, depending on what it is, but I think we're going to use the router if we can today, that way, because we got 10 plunge cuts here we have to make, and then we've got the edge cuts here. Now, these edge cuts I'll probably use by hand, only because the router, it's going to be hard to plunge in. And also, we need a crisp edge here because we don't have notches or shoulders cut in those tenons. So this is going to show, if we actually use the router bit, we're going to have a round edge showing on this side, and we don't want that. So we're definitely going to be cutting these ends with the chisel. But I think we're going to plunge cut these. Let me just make sure I have a 1/2 inch. We have our 1/2 inch bit in, actually, I think. Yep. So now we just have to make sure we're only doing one plunge cut. We're not going to be reversing the direction to slice the other side. So we'll have to do one plunge, make sure it's against the back of the wall, because if it's off a little bit, you know, that'll make the tenons not seat quite as well. So but we're probably gonna have to do this in 2 or 3 cuts, because we don't want to cut. I don't know. This is pine. We could probably cut the full depth, slice across, pull out. It just depends. We'll try it once and see. If it starts to bog down the blade, then we'll know we have to do a couple cuts. So we don't have to go too deep. I mean, we're only, well, actually, we're 1.25 inches in. I think we're 1.25 inches in. Where's our, there we go. Yeah, we're 1.25 inches, so we have to plunge cut 1.25 inches, which might be too far for our router. 1.25 inches plus, a little over 1.25 inches, so we need 1.5 inches plunge. I don't know if we're going to get it with this, so we'll see. Keep putting these in the wrong place. Let me just check the router and make sure it goes to 1.25 inches here. At least 1 inch and a little over 1.25 inches. 1.5 inches would be better, but we will see here. Yeah, I think I can make that work. That's 1 inch, and we can gain a little on the collar. I think we can go up even further. Yeah, so we're gonna have to do multiple cuts to get the depth, but we can do that. There we go. And I'll move the camera here in a second. Let's get this set up, figure out where we want to be. Because we've got long boards we have to settle on here, so. And we're going to need some kind of bracing on the sides, so we're going to have to figure out something to hold the other end of the boards up. Same height as the router. And always find something around to do that. That box probably will do it. Let's see if we can set one of these on there. Need a little more height on the box. Yeah, do a nice 2x4, which we don't have, but we have some scrap wood there. Still a little bit off, so that's actually something a little more solid than the box. 6x6 piece will work. And we'll need some more wood here. Let's see. And we'll need another 2. Let's see if we got another scrap piece. We have a piece over there. There we go. Still a little bit off. Don't need much. Don't see a sliver of anything around here, but there we go. Yeah, it feels good. So we'll slide the router a little bit more this way, and these a little more this way. And we need to make sure we're lined up good. See where our marks are. Yeah, it should work. So let me change the camera angle here. And we'll drop you back down. Which is on the other side of the room? Alright, so we also want to make sure again, we mark these with an X, but we haven't marked them on the sides with an X, so I'm going to do that just so we know where we're going to cut. X usually means don't cut, but it's fine. There we go. So we know where we can plunge and pull up, and we'll probably have to move our bracing here. Now we got to figure out the depth because we haven't done that yet. And we want to center our blade in the center of this board, and we're at an inch and 9/16, which makes it a difficult center. And our scrap board is actually in our stack, and we want to use a scrap board to test. So I'm going to try and find a different bracing here. We're a little high with this piece here. I don't think we have anything else. No. We'll use that for now. We'll have to adjust a little bit here once we get our center. Alright, we're not centered for sure. So you can see here. That looks pretty centered, but we're going to measure here. Even though we need a 32nd. Center of blade. It's 3/4, which is 1.5 inches. We want to be a little over. That's actually pretty good right there. Is test it. We've got a quick test of way to test that. So